Things happen very slowly and then they happen very quickly. I think that
Hmm.
we are seeing the relatively slow adoption of capabilities like stablecoins. I don't know what it will be, but I have a sneaking suspicion in the next few years here, there's going to be one of those moments where it's just everywhere. And it reinforces why we do what we do. Fintech and payments, it's nerdy but fun.
Today, we're talking about the slightly different type of payments we usually cover on Payments FM. We talk about payroll. Payroll is an essential part of the cash flow for small and medium businesses. Our guest today is Dan Loomis from Gusto. Gusto manages payroll for hundreds of thousands of companies. In this episode, we discussed the most common cash flow challenges, payroll issues, how to speed up payroll, bill pay processes, invoicing workflows, and financing options. And with this, please welcome Dan. Hi, Dan, and thank you so much for joining Payments FM.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Let's maybe start with a high-level question. So with Gusto managing payouts for 400,000 businesses, which is an enormous number, you probably hear a lot from your customers about their payments and payroll experience. So maybe you can highlight a little bit, what are the main kind of like pain points that small businesses they experience with payments and payouts?
First of all, just want to thank you for having me on and allowing me to help share how Gusto solves problems for small businesses. But we have the privilege of serving several hundred thousand of them, like you just mentioned, and we talk to our customers repeatedly. It's critically important for us to all understand exactly the pain points that they're facing. And most commonly, there are a few acute financial headaches that small businesses face today. They feel a lack of control. They feel a lack of confidence. There's constant cash flow volatility challenges, and they cascade when businesses can't reliably manage payments. Employees can feel the stress directly in their paychecks, and both sides are stuck in a cycle of instability that the organization that I help run, Gusto Money, is designed to break by automating processes, improving some visibility, and providing flexible access to capital and wages.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I think there are a lot of analysts who are saying like the economy is not doing super well right now in the US. Are you seeing any trends or signals from your customers, and you think like there is a demand for certain products?
What's incredible about the US small business economy is that it's very vibrant and very much so alive. And that's not to say there aren't financial headwinds and macro environment considerations that we have to think through in partnership with our small businesses. But there's a lot of opportunity. I think when we look at the acute pains that they face, there's a clear lack of control that small business owners face. Their financial centers of gravity can feel manual or disconnected. There's commonly poor visibility into cash flow. There's a resulting lack of confidence. Small businesses often lack real-time insight into cash positions. It limits their access to capital. Inefficient AR and AP systems leave owners guessing about whether they can meet payroll, pay bills, or invest in growth. And the uncertainty here it really makes it hard to run a stable operation. And the last piece around kind of this cash flow volatility, who do I pay dilemma, late customer payments coming in and scarce credit options, it can at times force owners to make some painful trade-offs, choosing which vendors or service providers to pay, or even the unconscionable question, do I pay or delay paying my employees on time? And these decisions, they can damage relationships with suppliers, vendors, employees. They create a vicious cycle of distrust. So here are a few areas that are pain points. And to touch on your broader point of kind of the macro question and what our customers desire, they're really looking for control. They're looking for confidence. They're helping with cash flow smoothing solutions. And that's what Gusto Money is here to deliver.
Right, exactly. And I think it's a great segue to my next question. Gusto Money, big announcement. So you just listed the pain points and problems. I would imagine that the product you're building, you're trying to address some of them. But if you can provide a little bit more specifics, and what exactly pain points and solutions you're bringing to the market with Gusto Money and what are you trying to solve?
Totally. Gusto Money, it's solving kind of a dual story of time and cash flow, control, confidence, and more money. On one end, we help provide financial solutions for millions of employees that small businesses bring. We help them with control, confidence, and more money through great financial solutions delivered for the employees of our employers. It helps them get paid early, get paid on time, understand their earnings, have fluid access to cash in moments that might be lacking confidence or control. I think for the purpose of this conversation, we'll spend the lion's share of our time talking about what we're doing for our employers, what we're doing for our small businesses. And when we
Mhm.
think about like the challenges that we're helping to solve for small business, cash flow is extraordinarily stressful. Small businesses, they struggle with balancing money in versus money out. And Gusto Money is solving for this by helping to accelerate receivables by having an invoicing product in market that helps reduce the days to paid, has automated reminders,
Mhm.
flexibility in payment that allows speed of money into bank accounts. We help also solve for managing payables with confidence. We have a one integrated view of your cash position that helps you see what money is going out to your employees through payroll, what you're doing with vendor and bill payment, and how you're handling expenses. And when we consolidate this single view of money out, it helps provide a lot of comfort and confidence around cash flow. And last critical area that we're delivering now is we're providing working capital backstops. And the goal is to provide fair and affordable access to credit that employers can lean on to help pay their team. And the thing that keeps small businesses up at night, largely, I feel a comfort and confidence around I can build my product or service. But the thing that keeps you up at night is can I pay my employees? And when we pull all this together and help produce a better view of cash flow and backstop it by working capital, uh, it helps all of our small businesses win.
Thank you for this overview. And you just listed like a set of products. And I believe the key for success is kind of like going deep into each of them and to think not just like that you deliver it like as a checkbox, right? But you're actually delivering the value and the product works for employers. Let's maybe unpack each of them with a little bit more details. I think in the order how you listed them. Maybe let's start with invoicing. I believe there are like a certain solutions on the market today, and I'm actually not sure if invoicing is like part of the announcement or it's been with the product for a while. Are you competing with other invoicing platforms? I don't know, like with QuickBooks, or maybe just someone can go into Stripe and create an invoice from there. Um, do you see it as a competition, or you provide some sort of like a niche solution for specifically for like a certain type of employers?
I don't see Gusto invoicing as a head to head competitor with standalone invoicing tools like some that you may have just mentioned. Instead, I think our strategy is to actually solve a more fundamental problem around cash flow and
Mhm.
workflow fragmentation for small businesses. When you integrate with payroll, Gusto, we have the unique opportunity to sit at the intersection of money in, invoicing and payments received, and money out, payroll and bill payment and vendor payments. When an
Yeah.
invoice is paid, that money can be made immediately visible in the same place where a business is deciding how and when to pay their people and suppliers. And that closed loop that we can help support is unique. And we really want to solve core problems in this space for small businesses. When you have invoicing integrated into a workflow that a small business is in regularly, we can help reduce days to paid, which helps you accelerate payroll. We can provide better cash flow confidence. Gusto almost uniquely has full visibility into both inflows and outflows in a way that other companies might not have. We can help owners prioritize payments, avoid shortfalls, and provide working capital backstops. So we're trying to attack this through really holistically solving the workflow of getting paid and paying others within our position in the ecosystem.
Right. I have some follow-up questions about invoicing.
Yeah.
I believe invoicing can be paid differently, right? So you probably support like online payment methods that your employer will charge just like a regular customers. And also there could be some B2B payments. I think I'm a little bit curious, like how you manage B2B payments. Is it like you're sending the employer, they send an invoice, but funds, they arrive just on their bank account? Is this like a traditional flow? Because I believe that's how it usually works. So you send an invoice, there's your bank details there, and someone pays to your bank account. But you're saying you're in the middle of funds. How does that actually work?
Yeah, I don't necessarily know that we're in the middle of the funds flow.
Hmm.
But what we're able to do is, I think when you're thinking about disparate pieces of financial information and financial
Mm-hmm.
artifacts, reconciliation of this and truly understanding how much money do I have in this moment, really trying to begin to crack this problem of expressing cash flow, answering very clear and simple questions of what do I have available today? And by integrating ourselves into the flow, into an invoicing flow, we're partnered with a company called Melio to help bring AR and AP solutions to market.
Mm-hmm.
Partnering very closely with them, we're able to leverage some of their payments layer, some of the workflow around actually creating a bill or creating an invoice, and actually listening for that information and pairing it together with what we know to be true around relationships with employees, relationships with time, hours worked at hourly rates equals, we begin to have a more rich perspective of cash flow. And we're trying to solve that problem. When it's Wednesday afternoon and I need to think about running payroll, or it's Friday morning and I need to think about running payroll, I don't want to go to multiple sources of truth to actually understand, can I actually make this happen? In Gusto, we're trying to very clearly solve that problem for small businesses because it's a leading pain point.
I believe you also mentioned you can expedite an invoice, right, and make an invoice be paid quicker. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, we want small businesses to get paid as fast as possible. And one of the ways that we can help accelerate days to paid is by providing payor and payee flexibility in how you're getting paid and how you're
Mm-hmm.
paying others. So looking to optimize for tender types around, um, again, paying in or getting paid out.
Mm-hmm.
Tender type maximization is really important because you give people that are going to be paying your invoice a lot of choice. And if they don't see their choice of how they want to pay your invoice listed, it's probably going to take them a few more days to pay. So providing tender type flexibility,
Mm-hmm.
having automated follow-ups and reminders, it helps salvage the relationship between a small business and their customer, right? The customer doesn't want Dan of Dan's Donuts to be pestering them to pay the invoice. If the system can help automate this, if Gusto can help create that relationship with an individual that is perhaps late on an invoice, that helps salvage the relationship with the small business owner and the customer. So these are the ways that we're helping to accelerate days to paid by just great user experience and providing maximum flexibility in the payment rail choice.
Right. Is the situation similar with the bill pay and when company wants to pay to their vendors? So you're providing additional layer of information and insights comparing to just going to their bank and initiating the payment from there.
We think we have a far richer set of features and centralized capabilities that we offer to our small businesses. When we centralize accounts payable next to payroll, which would
Mm-hmm.
not be the case in a couple of his examples you just mentioned, when we help centralize it and we express what money out position you have in totality, payroll, expenses, bill pay, it helps small businesses just mentally centralize all that information. They can see obligations, they can view their cash position, they can understand upcoming payroll, who to pay when, all in one spot. Again, we're partnered with Melio to help bring this kind of bill pay solution primitive into our product, and we then deeply integrate it within the rest of Gusto. That experience for a user, it feels like adding a bill. You upload a bill or email it in, manually create it. You can review, schedule. If there's a approval route that needs to go from an individual entering the bill to maybe the business owner because it's over a certain dollar amount, that approval work chain exists. Want to be able to confirm and select payment types. You want to pay via ACH, you want to pay via card. How do you want to pay? When somebody receives that bill payment, how do they get paid? And critically, how do you reconcile all of this within really important accounting stacks? So this is kind of the bill payment offering that we help deploy to small businesses. And again, by pairing it next to payroll information, expense information, you start to have a more complete picture of what your money out exposure is. We think there's a clear pain point we're solving there.
You mentioned different payment methods. I saw recently that America's payments are still running on checks, a lot of them. Is it something that you also help to automate? Do you see the check volume is still the real volume that small businesses are using to receive and send payments?
Sometimes there's a necessity for a check. And for reasons, checks still exist. Our goal is to provide maximum flexibility with how people want to pay and get paid. When you offer choice, the whole solution works better. How do we offer payment methods like bank transfers or ACH? How do we, if somebody wants to mail a check, enable that and make it easy for them? How can they fund bill payments with a card if they want to use credit card, for example, to end up paying bills? We see that flexibility and choice of how you pay, also how you get paid, being really important for adoption and engagement.
Just from the employer perspective, having all this information together makes a lot of sense, and you have a partnership. Can you walk me through how it actually works? I would imagine that through this partnership, a small business can connect their bank account where you will get more visibility on their transactions. Is this the flow? Is there a plaid somewhere in this chain that helps you connect to bank accounts, or what are the rails that you're using?
Yeah, great question. In order to really harness the total power of what Gusto offers, typically a bank connection is important. And today we do have a couple of different ways to connect bank accounts. One of them is with Plaid. When we grab that information of a connected bank account, it helps us be able to run payroll. It helps us be able to actually help you facilitate bill payment. So we definitely want a connected bank account. And then with the example that I think you're asking on around bill pay, like, yep, let's connect a bank account. If you want to pay a bill, typically you need to add a bill, and like manually entry is kind of a pain. So how do you upload a PDF, take a picture, email it in, etc.? Like we need to ingest the bill. There's a lot of flexibility with how we do that. How do you, once the bill is in, it's not just automatically paid. We want to help you review and schedule when that takes place. Is it the right vendor? Is it the right due date? Do you want to adjust like the payment date that is right for you in the context of the information that Gusto helps provide you? Is it a large bill? Do you need an approval route from the small business owner, for example? And ultimately, how do you want to pay this? While we may have connected your bank account, and that might be your preferred method of payment, do you actually want to pay that using maybe your credit card? And then kind of that last transparent, that just kind of needs to work step. How do we sync and reconcile these types of payments with your ERP and your accounting platform? So this is the kind of flow that we help provide. And we're super excited about the visibility that it offers small businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about the core of Gusto, the payroll itself. So one of the feature that maybe like the very like requested is the same day payroll. Can you walk me through how this is structured and what rails you're using to run same day payroll?
I think if if you'd allow me, I'd start with the customer problem that we're solving. Small businesses, as we've been talking about, there's a lot of hats that small business owners wear. Typically, time is at a premium. There's a lot of jobs to be done in the day of being a small business owner, and um, payroll should just work for them when they need it to work. Sometimes um, you might need it to work a little bit closer to payday and may not have gotten to that job on Monday or Wednesday or Thursday in service of a Friday payroll. So we want to make sure that we have a lot of flexibility with how employers and administrators of payroll can actually run payroll. So in the instance of same day payroll, it's not. I think the flow is at a surface layer very easy to express. There's a lot of mechanics and core capabilities that Gusto brings to bear that allows what I'm going to say is relatively simple use case to actually pay people very efficiently and on time. And at the end of the day, we debit the employer on payday, and then we credit the employee using same day ACH. Again, at the surface layer, it sounds very simple. There's a lot of mechanics that sit underneath that. So, for instance, like how does it work behind the scenes? And domestically, we use a combination of FedNow, clearinghouse real-time payments, and Fed ACH through our banking partners to help. We're utilizing a lot of rails internationally. We use leading FX and stablecoin partners to move money across borders. And we stitch all of this together and provide it in a clean and simple user interface for payroll admin to understand what they're doing, know who they need to pay, how much they're paying them, using what speed, and either have that on autopilot or manually submit payroll and get those employees paid very rapidly. So we're super pleased with how this launch has taken flight, and it's just one of a series of steps that we're taking to make the payroll experience better for employers in the United States.
I'm very excited to hear that you're adopting kind of like the latest solution and the Fed now. That's what relatively new, and that's something that you're utilizing today. I have not that much experience like in a payroll and that type of the payments, but I have a little bit more like on the platforms solution. And usually when you want to speed up the payout to, I don't know if you're like on the marketplace, to like sellers, right, or to like service providers, there is an extra fee that comes with this. Like if you want an instant payout, there is like an extra fee to send money like in a real time, which sounds a little, kind of like maybe a little extreme in 2025. Do you see it like as a premium service that you are considering? That's kind of like, hey, if you want like same day payroll, that there is like an extra fee, or you should be like on an extra plan, or you think that's something that everyone should have an access to?
It's a great question. Again, I think at least my standpoint is offering maximum choice, all sides of the network to be optimized, and um, a employer can choose to run payroll earlier in the week, and there are certain processes and mechanics that allow us to bring that solution to market, or employers can choose to run payroll a little bit closer to that actual pay date. I think broadly speaking, within an industry, when there's um, accelerated speed or some sense of urgency around moving money very quickly, typically there's a different price point for that. There are a whole host of reasons as well. When you move money quickly, risk and fraud rates can go up. You need to be able to absorb that in the process of running your business. But I think what we have done is actually look for a fair and affordable price that allows small businesses an incredible amount of choice, and we solve their problem if they have it, where they need to run payroll really urgently. We have that solution for them at again, a fair and affordable price that helps them maintain the relationship with their employees.
Makes a lot of sense. The product from your announcement, which I'm particularly excited about, is about the financing, right? And to what you mentioned, kind of like there is a really big problem with the cash flow, and I would imagine that financing is here to address it. Can you tell me more about this? How does it work? What's the business experience?
How it works is we're solving a clear need, and payroll's one of the largest non-negotiable recurring small business expenses, and managing that cash flow is an extraordinarily stressful pain point for SMBs. Um, we have worked to integrate the product offerings called Payroll Bridge. We're partnered with a company called Paraffin to bring this to market. Payroll Bridge is embedded in the Gusto ecosystem, and it is an extraordinarily convenient option that's designed specifically to meet the need of payroll. When I am in the run payroll flow as a small business owner, I have an option. I can see what my bank balance is, and I can see an option to actually use Payroll Bridge and um, receive a draw and fill that gap in cash flow in that moment, in the job to be done of running payroll in context of the payroll engine. And that's at a surface layer. We wanted it to be deeply integrated so that you weren't going out to point solutions or outside to attempt to fill this problem. We've got your back in flow with a fair and affordable access to working capital. And together with us in Paraffin, we create the conditions where small businesses can defer payroll expenses at or before running payroll. And to my knowledge, Payroll Bridge is the first and only solution of its kind, and we're super proud to bring that to market with Paraffin.
Yeah, that sounds very exciting. I have a couple of questions about the details. I'm not very familiar with the partner you mentioned. I was exploring other solutions, basically for embedded financing, and a lot of them are very expensive. And maybe it doesn't look that expensive if you are like as a business, if you're financing for the short amount of time, right? That you're expecting the invoice like next month, so you're taking a certain amount for like a short period of time. But if you recalculate it to the annual percentage, that it's kind of like double digits basically in the interest. How do you think about this? Like if it's the case with Gusto, and do you see that convenience and kind of like another layer on top of this justifies like an extra cost of the like an extra cost of money?
Small business owners regularly have decisions they need to make, and one that involves their workforce around the people that help their small business operate. These are very sensitive, and we want to.
Mhm.
We really want to pay those relationships the right amount of respect. How we have thought about this is a small business owner is confronted with a very challenging moment. I owe my employees $12,000, and I have $7,000 in the bank. Again, hypothetical situation.
Yeah.
A small business owner can do one of many things. They can go out to the myriad of point solutions, attempt to aggregate their assets, put their assets in one particular place, and run payroll. This is common. This takes place. What is also common is a small business owner may not have received that payment on that invoice, or they may not have had that sales volume that they were expecting to, and running short on budgets, trying to compress a lot of moments into a very narrow time frame for run payroll. Maybe sometimes things don't just perfectly line up. So there are choices in this moment where things don't line up. It is an option to not run payroll. And we're here to help prevent that moment. Number one, through our cash flow solutions that we're looking to stitch together around receivables, payables, understanding what assets you have, understanding your working capital situation. We hope to prevent the moment where I'm unclear on how much money I have in the bank and can I run payroll. So we're solving this problem. But in the moment where I need to fund payroll, we have a deeply integrated solution that is, we believe, very fair and affordably priced for the solution that it's offering small businesses. There's flexible repayment options of 4, 8, or 12 installments. And that gives merchants, again, flexibility and choice with, do they want this offering? How do they want to repay use of credit? And ultimately retain the relationship with their employees that were paid on time. So there is a cost to the product, but we believe it's not required for everybody. It's not recommended for everybody, but it is an option that is available for moments where there's extreme pain. And at Gusto, we just want to have our small businesses back, and we make that possible through a partnership with Paraffin.
I appreciate the transparency. Thank you for this answer. Just one more question on the financing. I'm just very curious myself. You obviously have tons of data, and probably to like underwrite the loan, right? You can utilize like all this data that you're aggregating on your platform. Did you run any like estimations of like how many businesses on your platform qualifies for this product? Is it like 10% or 100%?
Our goal is to make sure that a right for me product is available for the right people. Did we look at our backbook portfolio and see how many small businesses this product might be eligible for? Absolutely. Just like we would with any other product development effort, right? How many people need feature X or Y or Z? We want to look at the eligible audience for it. And beyond that, I think you might be looking at, how do we assess how many small businesses would be eligible for this? How many could potentially be underwritten, et cetera. Yeah. That's all there's a lot of it depends moments in there. And ultimately that decision is determined by our lending partner, Paraffin, using their underwriting criterion, their creditworthiness assessment. But what I can say is customers that are approved and use the solution absolutely love it. And it provides them the flexibility and control and confidence that they can run a small business. They can meet payroll, even when challenges are present. So that's the power that we're working to bring to market.
Right. Yeah. I think it makes a lot of sense. Did you consider repayment of the loan as the automatic deduction from their future invoices or anything like this, about integrations like that?
Yeah. When it comes to repayment, we're looking for, when it comes to repayment, we're trying to optimize the entire experience. The experience isn't just, can I be underwritten for something and can I access money? But it's also, do you have the fair and affordable and clearly understood repayment plan that you're able to meet? So there's a responsibility at kind of top of funnel to make sure that eligibility checks, credit limits, they're designed to not put SMBs in a awkward position or in quote unquote trouble. And we address this up high. But in the edge case where they get a little bit lower in funnel and have challenges repaying, which is not the majority of our customer base, to be very clear, that's where the flexible repayment options come in. And again, in partnership with Paraffin, we're and when businesses experience demonstrated financial hardship, we're looking to offer repayment pauses, or other repayment arrangements on a case-by-case basis that really meet the needs of the small business. This is something that should work for a small business and not be a detractor to them actually running their business.
As part of this announcement, I also saw the feature as a payout using stablecoins. Some stablecoins is the theme of 2025. There were multiple launches, multiple products. It's very exciting. And particular use case, right, that you're implementing, it's also make a lot of sense. It's for international payments, right? That's also the part of the payout. I see it as a real solution, not just hype. Can you provide more context about what's the kind of like what exactly the pain point you're solving, and what's actually the employee experience when they're receiving this type of payment?
Using stablecoins is actually particularly valuable in these use cases, so we're super excited to bring this to market.
Right. I would love to hear more like how it actually works. Are there like popular stablecoin wallets that employee can take, or what's their experience? Do they receive an email and they need to do something from it, or
Yeah. We are working on shoring up the final details of a couple large announcements. And I think that if we're to have this conversation again in a couple weeks, I could probably provide you a lot more clarity on this front. But right now we're in like the final moment of putting a bow on this. So it might be worth another discussion here in the next couple of weeks.
Maybe if you can share something, because you're already working on it, did you see any interesting challenges from regulatory perspective by opening stablecoins? I think it's kind of getting popular, but it's still maybe like in some sort of gray area, and maybe in some countries regulations are not there yet. What was your experience working with this?
Yeah. Number one, it's great to see guidance in a framework here. You know, the Genius Act that recently came out, guiding and establishing national innovation for U.S. stablecoins. You know, this is broadly speaking landmark piece of legislation, and it establishes a pretty comprehensive framework for regulating stablecoins, digital tokens, etc. This provides clear guidance to how we should think about building products, how we should actually think about evaluating partners that can enable certain capabilities, how we think about a compliance framework for governing this feature, not just in US markets, but also internationally. So we're resolute that stablecoins enable faster money movement. Businesses can pay employees or contractors faster. We can enable better cash flow. We create more transparency that can be evaluated more thoroughly through the lens of compliance and regulation. We see this as an evolving space as well. I'm sure as you do too. But we're excited that there's actually a little bit of governance, a little bit of guidance, and kind of a path forward for our industry.
You obviously have a lot of payments experience and been in payments for quite a while. What do you think is the biggest problem with payments our businesses and maybe even consumers experience today that's kind of like a big blocker for in this industry and for all of us to experience fast, seamless, secure, convenient, and cheap types of payments?
It's a very broad question. I don't for a nanosecond attempt to speak on behalf of a very, very smart and competent industry. I think when we look ahead in payments, transparency, speed, reconciliation are extraordinarily important in these areas that aren't that interesting to talk about. I mean, speed, everybody wants money faster, but how that works, how that is cost optimized. You know, we just talked about stable coins. I think there's a very clear future here for how we optimize payor and payee experiences around the speed of money and the cost of money. the transparency of how money is moving and the reconciliation of money movement and the things that money movement was representing, an invoice, a bill pay, a contract, and actually being able to communicate not just a dollar move from point A to point B, but a dollar moved from point A to point B, it moved immediately. You can exit it in whatever tender type or fiat currency you want. And by the way, this is the information that was part of that payment. The industry is recognizing this and realizing it through technology. Payments, it's what I've learned across my industry is that things are relatively slow to be adopted, and then they're very rapidly adopted. Another example of payments, early in my career, I worked on near-field communications, tap and pay, contactless payments. Mm-hmm. And we seeded the globe with infrastructure to actually accept this. And there was adoption in various markets. There was growing adoption in kind of core markets. And then overnight, there was this moment in 2020 that basically catapulted the acceptance of contactless and NFC payments and mobile wallets across a variety of industries, a variety of verticals, a variety of use cases. Things happen very slowly and then they happen very quickly. I think that we are seeing the relatively slow adoption of capabilities like stablecoins. I don't know what it will be, but I have a sneaking suspicion in the next few years here, there's going to be one of those moments where it's just everywhere. And it reinforces why we do what we do. Fintech and payments, it's nerdy but fun.
That's very exciting. Okay, my final question. And again, considering your experience in payments, if you met someone at the elevator and they run a small business and you just learn about this, I don't know, like an e-commerce store, and they're like, oh, Dan, you have a lot of payments experience. Tell me, how can I improve my payments performance and make my payments better? What would be the single advice that you'll give them to significantly elevate their payments experience?
Most small businesses use multiple tools from the time they have an idea to when they get started to when they mature and when they need to professionalize. The better you are at centralizing your tool set, about looking at receivables, payables, banking, accounting, payroll, expenses, how you consolidate these, you're going to save yourself time, you're going to improve control, increase confidence, and critically, you're going to understand your cash flow. You understand your cash flow, you understand your profitability, you're better prepared to run your small business and thrive.
I love it. The cash flow would be the name of this episode. Thank you so much, Dan. It was absolutely a pleasure, and I hope our listeners will enjoy this conversation as much as I did.
Hey, thanks so much for having me today, and nice chatting with you.